Commander's starship shook as it pierced the violet clouds of. The city below sparkled like a constellation fallen to the planet. Towers of crystal spiraled upward, glowing with soft light, and streets hummed with energy flowing through them. But didn't look at the beauty. His mind was elsewhere, focused on one impossible mission, to reunite the queen with her long-lost daughter. He had seen the queen only through holograms and reports. She was a majestic figure, regal and powerful, yet haunted by sadness. Decades ago, her daughter had been taken from her in a raid by a rival faction, and since then the queen had ruled her world with one missing piece of her heart. Now, human intelligence had found the child, and one human among billions of aliens was tasked with bringing her home. The cockpit was quiet, except for the soft hum of the engines and the occasional beep of sensors. Hands gripped the controls, steady and confident, though his chest pounded with anticipation. He had trained his whole life for impossible missions, but this one was different. This one was personal, not for him but for the child, for the queen, and for something deeper. The idea that humans could do more than survive in the galaxy, they could heal it. As the starship descended, caught sight of the city's outer walls, tall and curved like protective arms. Energy shields shimmered faintly over the gates, and he could feel the pulse of life within. Somewhere inside those walls, the child he had come for waited, unaware that hope had arrived in the form of a human. His mind wandered briefly to the stories he had heard about human resilience. In his world, humans were fragile, short-lived compared to alien. But somehow, humans always fought when everything seemed lost. They adapted, they survived, and sometimes they achieved what no one thought possible. That thought gave him courage. I may be only one human, he told himself, but one human can make a difference. Below the shimmering towers, the city looked peaceful. Children ran along crystal bridges, merchants displayed glowing fruits and strange devices, and hover vehicles zipped silently through the air. To any observer, it was a perfect day. Yet beneath the streets, in hidden chambers carved from living rock, Lyra, the queen's daughter, had lived most of her life in darkness. She had grown clever, cautious, and strong in her own way, but she had never known freedom. Felt a pang of sadness as he thought of her. He had been briefed about her years of isolation, the deprivation she had endured, and the loneliness that had shaped her into someone both wary and brilliant. He could almost see her, curled in a hidden corner of some crystal chamber, listening to the faint hum of the city above, dreaming of the family she had lost. Soon, he promised silently, you will see your mother again. The descent became turbulent as the starship entered the lower atmosphere. Wind whipped against the hull and lightning streaked across the violet clouds, illuminating the city in bursts of eerie color. His fingers danced across the controls, adjusting shields and stabilizers. His jaw was tight, his eyes focused, but inside his heart raced. This was more than a rescue mission. It was a chance to change the course of a life that had been stolen. Finally, the landing pad appeared, carved into a terrace of shimmering crystal. The starship's thrusters flared, dust and sparks flying as it touched down with a controlled roar. Took a deep breath. Outside, the air smelled faintly of ozone and energy, and he could feel the life of the city pulsing around him. Somewhere beyond the gates, Lyra awaited, and somewhere beyond that, the queen's heart ached for reunion. Stood and strapped on his utility harness, checking his weapons and tools one last time. Every step he took beyond the starship could be dangerous. Guards, surveillance, alien technology, all would challenge him, but none of that mattered. He had a mission and he had hope. For a human, hope was a weapon more powerful than any energy rifle. He whispered under his breath, "Hold on, little one, I'm coming for you." With that, he opened the starship's hatch and stepped into the glowing streets leaving behind the safety of metal and entering the unknown. Every step he took was a promise, a declaration that a human hero could bring light to even the darkest corners of the galaxy. And somewhere in the shadows, unseen, Lyra watched. She did not yet know it, but her life was about to change forever. Beneath the shining city, hidden in tunnels carved from living crystal, Lyra moved silently. She had spent most of her life in these passages, weaving through shadows and listening to the hum of the energy crystals embedded in the walls. The world above was bright and alive, but here below, time felt suspended. Every echo of footsteps made her flinch. Every shadow made her pause. She had learned to survive, to hide, to anticipate danger before it arrived. Lyra's heart beat faster as she sensed a disturbance. Someone was moving through the tunnels. It wasn't a patrol or a drone. The energy around this presence felt different, alive. She crouched behind a crystalline pillar, her eyes sharp, trying to identify the intruder. Her fingers brushed against a small, hidden console, sending a pulse to temporarily disable the surveillance drones in her section. The metallic hum of the machines quieted. Someone had bypassed her defenses, but she didn't step into the open, yet. Moved carefully, scanning the tunnels with sensors that glowed softly on his suit. Every step he took was measured. He knew the layout from schematics, but tunnels built by living crystal were unpredictable. The walls seemed to shift slightly, echoing and refracting sound, hiding secrets in corners and crevices. He whispered to himself, steadying his nerves. Almost there, just a little further. He could feel her presence, faint but unmistakable, like a heartbeat in the dark. Lyra's eyes widened as she saw the human. She had been told humans were fragile, short-lived, and not to be trusted. Yet there he was, moving carefully, confidently, not like an invader but like someone on a mission of purpose. Her instincts screamed caution, but curiosity kept her hidden gaze fixed on him. He stopped at a junction, analyzing pathways, and for a moment their eyes met. She flinched, ducking behind the pillar, unsure whether to run or confront him. His voice echoed softly through the tunnel. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, his tone calm and steady. "I came to bring you home." The word struck her like a jolt of light. Home. She had dreamed of this word for years, whispered it to herself in darkness, wondered if it even existed for her anymore. Could a human truly know what home meant for a child? Could he really bring her to the mother she had lost? Her chest tightened, her heart leaping at the possibility. Lyra moved carefully, emerging from the shadows but staying low. "Why should I trust you?" she asked, her voice small but firm. "Everyone who came here wanted to take me, not save me." Crouched to meet her gaze, leaving his hands visible. "Because I'm not like them," he said. "I'm not here for power or control. I'm here because it's the right thing to do. Your mother is waiting. She has been waiting for you for decades. I can take you to her safely, but only if you trust me." Her mind raced. Decades of isolation had made her cautious, yet something in his voice, something in his eyes, told her he was different. Maybe humans were fragile, maybe they were short-lived, but perhaps that very fragility made them care more, fight harder, and hope longer. She nodded slowly, stepping closer, but the sound of approaching guards made her freeze. Eyes met hers. "We need to move, now." Together they darted down the tunnels. Lyra led, using her knowledge of secret paths and hidden chambers. Followed, trusting her instinctive guidance. Energy sensors flashed as they bypassed them. Drones hummed and faltered, and the walls seemed to bend around their movement. Every step brought them closer, yet every step carried danger. As they ran, Lyra glimpsed flashes of the world she had never known. The tunnels opened briefly to underground gardens where bioluminescent plants grew, feeding from crystal veins. She had seen them before, but never with someone beside her. Seeing navigate these spaces so carefully, protecting her, filled her with a strange warmth. For the first time, she felt hope was not just a dream, but something real, tangible, something she could hold on to. Finally, they reached a fork in the tunnel. One path led to a maintenance shaft, fast but exposed. The other led to a hidden elevator that would take them near the city gates, safe but slower. Looked at her, waiting for her decision. Lyra hesitated, then chose the maintenance shaft, the riskier route but faster, and she trusted her knowledge. Smiled faintly, admiration in his eyes. "Lead the way," he said. Together, human and alien child, they moved deeper into danger, unaware that the next moments would test not only their courage, but the bond that was quietly forming between them. A bond of trust, hope, and the promise of reunion. The tunnels have twisted and turned like the roots of some enormous living tree. Lyra ran ahead, her small frame slipping through narrow passages with the ease of someone who had spent her entire life underground. Behind her followed, moving with a careful, steady rhythm that belied the danger around them. Every step was measured, every turn calculated. The air thrummed with tension as distant alarms echoed through the crystal walls. "Keep moving," urged, his voice firm but calm. He had learned to trust Lyra's instincts, her intimate knowledge of the labyrinthine tunnels. She didn't look back. Her mind was a whirlwind of fear, hope, and disbelief. Could this human really bring me home? She wondered after all these years, after all this pain. Suddenly, a series of lights flared ahead. Security drones had detected them. Mechanical eyes glowed red, and the whirring of their engines filled the tunnel. Lyra ducked into a side passage, pressing against the wall as the drones passed, but one turned sharply toward them. Didn't hesitate. With a swift motion, he activated a small EMP device, sending a pulse that froze the drone mid-flight. Sparks danced in the air, and it crashed into the wall with a metallic clang. Lyra's heart pounded, a mix of relief and awe. She had never seen a human act so decisively, so courageously. He wasn't just following her lead, he was protecting her, anticipating danger she hadn't even noticed yet. For the first time in her life, she felt a sense of safety, however fragile, beside someone who wasn't part of her captors. The chase intensified. From deeper in the tunnels, heavy footsteps echoed, guards were coming. Lyra glanced at her, chest tight with fear. "They're fast," she whispered. "I know," replied, eyes scanning the passage. "But so are we. Follow me and don't stop." They darted through twisting corridors, the walls of crystal glowing faintly with the energy that ran beneath the city. Lyra led them down a narrow shaft she had discovered years ago, a secret path few knew existed. Followed closely, catching her when her foot slipped on a crystal shard. His hands were steady, unwavering, and his presence gave her courage she didn't know she still possessed. As they ran, an explosion rocked the tunnel ahead. Dust and debris rained down, blocking their usual path. Lyra froze, panic rising, but grabbed her hand. "There's always another way," he said. He scanned the surroundings, eyes catching a tiny gap in the wall. Without hesitation, he pulled her through. Their bodies scraped against crystal edges and small cuts stung, but they emerged on a narrow bridge overlooking a chasm filled with glowing energy streams. Lyra gasped, afraid of falling, but his grip was firm. "Trust me," he said simply. She did, because there was no one else to trust, and he had already earned that trust in every step they had taken together. The chase wasn't over. From the shadows, guards appeared, weapons drawn, cutting off the bridge. Lyra froze, but didn't. He pushed her behind a pillar, taking the lead, drawing their fire while guiding her to a safer path. Energy blasts exploded around them, shattering fragments of crystal, and sparks danced like fireflies in the dark. Each second was a test of their speed and wits. Then Lyra remembered an emergency hatch, a small elevator shaft leading toward the city outskirts. She pointed it out and nodded. "That's it. Quick!" They sprinted, vaulting over fallen debris and ducking under energy beams. The guards pursued, relentless, but Lyra's knowledge of the tunnels gave them the edge. She led through tight turns and hidden passages that slowed their pursuers. Finally, they reached the hatch. Lyra pressed the controls and the elevator doors opened with a hiss. They dove inside, the hatch closing just as the guards arrived. Inside the cramped space, caught his breath, his hand still gripping hers. Lyra's chest heaved, her heart racing with adrenaline and fear. "You saved me," she said, voice trembling, awe and relief mingling in her words. "No," replied softly. "You saved yourself. I'm just here to make sure you get home." For the first time, Lyra allowed herself to hope. She leaned slightly against the wall, eyes closing briefly, imagining the world above, imagining the mother she had not seen in decades. Glanced at her, a faint smile crossing his face. He knew the hardest part of the mission was not the chase or the danger, it was earning her trust. And in this moment, he had it. The elevator began its ascent, carrying them closer to freedom, closer to the reunion that had been decades in the making. Outside, the city awaited, glittering under twin suns, unaware that in its shadows, two lives were racing toward a destiny neither of them would ever forget. Above the city, the queen sat in her private chamber, her hands resting on the cool crystal surface of her throne. For decades, a silent ache had lived inside her, a hollow longing she could not name. She had ruled with wisdom and strength, yet in the quiet moments, the absence of her daughter burned sharper than any blade. Her mind often wandered to the little girl she had held for only a few fleeting years, wondering if she was alive, if she remembered her mother, if she even remembered love. Today, something was different. A subtle vibration ran through the city, faint but unmistakable, like the pulse of a heartbeat she had almost forgotten. The queen's amber eyes narrowed, scanning the horizon from her chamber's panoramic window. "Lyra," she whispered, her voice fragile yet full of hope. It had been decades since she had spoken that name aloud, and yet it tasted familiar on her tongue, carrying warmth, fear, and longing all at once. Far below, and Lyra moved through the last stretch of tunnels. The elevator had deposited them in a maintenance corridor near the city gates, but the threat of patrols still lingered. Lyra's steps were hesitant. Freedom was so close, yet uncertainty weighed heavily on her. "What if she doesn't remember me?" she asked quietly, almost to herself. Her voice trembled. "What if she's changed? What if I'm too late?" Glanced at her, understanding her fear. "She won't forget you," he said gently. "No love lasts that long without leaving a mark. You are part of her, always." His words were simple, but in them, Lyra felt the truth she had longed to believe. She clenched her fists, a spark of courage igniting in her chest. "I have to try. I have to see her." The corridors opened into a courtyard bathed in the soft glow of energy crystals. Lyra paused, overwhelmed by the sight of open space and sunlight filtering through the crystal canopy above. It had been years since she had felt warmth like this on her skin, years since she had known freedom. Stepped beside her, protective, yet giving her the space to face what awaited. "This is it," he said softly. "Your home is waiting." Lyra's heart pounded as they approached the palace gates. The queen had descended to the lower terrace, drawn by the energy signature she felt in the city, a feeling she had never experienced before. Her eyes scanned the courtyard, searching for a glimpse of the daughter she had mourned for so long. And then she saw her, smaller than she remembered, cautious, eyes wide with fear and hope, standing beside a human stranger. For a moment, time stopped. Lyra froze, unsure whether to run or leap into the arms of the mother she had only imagined in dreams. The queen's breath caught in her throat, and tears welled in her amber eyes. Every heartbeat screamed recognition, every instinct pulled her forward. "Lyra," she said again, the word trembling like a fragile bridge across decades of separation. Stepped back slightly, giving them space. He knew this moment was theirs alone. He had risked his life, fought against impossible odds, and earned trust through courage and patience. But now, this reunion was not his to witness. It belonged to them. Lyra's eyes filled with tears as she took her first tentative step forward. The fear and isolation of her years melted into anticipation, into longing, into love. The queen reached out, hands trembling, and Lyra closed the distance between them. Their hands met, fingers intertwining, and an electric warmth passed through them, more powerful than any technology, more enduring than any barrier. For the first time in decades, mother and daughter truly saw each other. Lyra's voice broke, a whisper heavy with years of longing. "Mother, I'm here." The queen pulled her into a tight embrace, holding her as if to make up for lost decades. Tears flowed freely, and the courtyard around them blurred into insignificance. All that existed was this connection, this bond that had survived time, separation, and pain. For Lyra, the embrace was a shield, a promise, a home she had never truly known until now. For the queen, it was the healing of a wound she had thought permanent, the return of her missing piece. Watched quietly from a few steps away, a small, proud smile on his face. He had brought them together, but he understood that no human hand could complete what only love could restore. In this moment, he realized that humans, fragile as they seemed, had a power beyond technology or strength. The power to create hope, to connect hearts, to bridge gaps that even time could not erase. Lyra pulled back slightly to look into her mother's eyes, and the queen smiled through her tears. "You're home," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. "Finally, you're home." And for the first time in decades, the queen's heart felt whole. The courtyard glowed under the twin suns of, painting the crystal towers in shades of gold and violet. Lyra's fingers still trembled as she held her mother's hands. The queen's amber eyes shimmered with tears, reflecting decades of longing, fear, and hope. For a moment, nothing else existed. No guards, no city, no distant threats. Just the two of them, finally together. "Mother," Lyra's voice broke. Every word carried the weight of years spent in shadow, in fear, in silence. I didn't think this day would ever come." The queen's grip tightened, her voice quivering. "I prayed for you every day. I waited believing you would return to me. And now you're here." Her tears fell freely, and Lyra reached up to wipe them away. It was a simple gesture, yet it carried a universe of love. Stepped back, giving them space, but his eyes never left them. He had faced countless dangers, fought through endless alarms and patrols, and yet nothing felt more powerful than watching this reunion. Humans were fragile compared to, but in his heart, he knew their courage, their hope, their ability to act in the face of impossibility was unmatched. Today, that courage had reunited a family. The queen pulled Lyra into a close embrace, holding her like she would never let go. Lyra rested her head on her mother's shoulder, finally feeling the warmth she had only imagined in dreams. Memories of the years spent alone flickered through her mind, each one sharp and painful. Yet now they softened, replaced by the overwhelming comfort of being seen, held, and loved. "Tell me everything," the queen whispered. "Where you've been, what you've done, how you've survived." Lyra hesitated, the words catching in her throat. Her life in the tunnels, the endless isolation, the fear. How could she explain all of it in one moment? She took a deep breath. "It's hard, but I'm alive because of you, and someone helped me come back to you." She glanced at who gave her a small nod, humble and unassuming. The queen turned her gaze toward him, awe and gratitude shining in her eyes. "You, a human, you brought my daughter home." Inclined his head. "Yes, your majesty, I promised her a way home, and I meant every word." The queen studied him, seeing courage, selflessness, and determination in a being so small and fragile compared to her own people. "A human so fragile, yet so powerful," she murmured. "You have a heart that surpasses strength and technology. You are extraordinary." Before could respond, the tranquility shattered. The city's alarms blared, and the distant hum of approaching warships reverberated through the courtyard. The queen stiffened, instinctively shielding Lyra behind her. The reunion had been precious but fragile, and danger still loomed. His eyes narrowed. "Stay here," he ordered gently. "I'll handle this." "No," Lyra said, stepping forward. "I'm not leaving him alone. We face this together." The queen hesitated, torn between fear and trust. But seeing her daughter's courage, she knew that the child she had lost had grown into someone brave, someone strong. And beside her, the human who had brought her safely home was unyielding. Together, they formed a triangle of hope, courage, and love. As the warships approached, energy shields flared around the palace gates. Moved to the forefront, positioning himself between the family and the threat. Lasers streaked the air, cutting through the courtyard, but his movements were precise, instinctive, and relentless. Lyra's mother watched, amazement and pride swelling in her chest. This human, so small yet fearless, defended her daughter as if she were his own. The queen's hand rested on Lyra's shoulder. "You've returned to me," she whispered, "and you've brought hope back to my world, all because of him." Lyra nodded, gripping her mother's hand. I know, mother. He is more than just a human. He is our hero." His focus remained on the advancing threat, but a faint smile crossed his face. The mission was far from over, yet seeing the mother and daughter reunited gave him strength. For humans, courage and hope were not limited by size, or they were measured by heart. And today, that heart had changed everything. As the battle lines drew closer, the queen pulled Lyra in for one more embrace. "You are home," she whispered again, her voice thick with emotion. "Finally, truly home." And for the first time in decades, Lyra believed it. The city's calm shattered as warships appeared on the horizon, their dark hulls cutting across twin suns like predators in flight. Energy shields around the palace flared, casting brilliant light across the courtyard where the queen and Lyra had just embraced. The reunion had been beautiful, fragile, and fleeting. Danger now surged forward, threatening to tear it apart. His eyes narrowed as he assessed the incoming ships. Their weapons glowed ominously, firing streaks of energy that scorched the city's crystal towers. Civilians screamed and scattered as automated defense drones activated, but knew the human advantage: creativity, courage, and adaptability. The Queen and Lyra could not fight. They had only just been reunited. It was his responsibility to protect them. "Mother, what's happening?" Lyra's voice trembled as she clung to her mother's side. "An attack," the queen whispered, eyes wide but composed. "But you are safe, my daughter. I will not let them harm you." Stepped forward, drawing his human-made energy rifle, its pulse glowing bright against the violet sky. "Stay behind me," he ordered, voice calm but firm. "I'll handle this. You've waited long enough for safety. I won't let anyone take it away now." Lyra's instinct was to argue, to fight alongside him, but she knew the human was different. Every move he had made so far had been precise, decisive, and life-saving. She nodded reluctantly, trusting him with a faith she had not felt for decades. The first salvo of energy blasts hit near the palace gates, cracking crystal terraces and sending shards flying. Dodged instinctively, returning fire with a precision that belied his human fragility. His movements were fluid, a dance between danger and survival. Each shot he fired disabled one of the warship's targeting systems, slowing the enemy's advance. From the shadows, Lyra watched, heart pounding. She saw something extraordinary, a human, fragile in appearance, standing alone against overwhelming alien technology. His courage wasn't born of fearlessness, but of determination, of hope, of an unbreakable belief in doing what was right. She realized then why her mother had trusted him, why she had felt safe with him from the moment they met in the tunnels. The queen, standing tall despite the danger, activated her own protective shields, using the energy of her city to reinforce the walls around them. She watched, awe and gratitude shining in her eyes. Humans were weaker physically, but he had a power that surpassed any weapon or alien tech: heart, bravery, and the ability to act when others hesitated. "Keep firing," shouted as another warship descended, its weapons locking on. He moved swiftly across the courtyard, drawing enemy fire toward himself and away from the queen and Lyra. Blasts of energy sizzled past him, cutting deep grooves into the crystal tiles, but he never faltered. Lyra could hardly believe what she saw. A human was protecting them as if their lives were his own, without hesitation, without fear. Finally, the warships began to retreat, their attacks blunted by the unexpected resistance. Sweating and exhausted, lowered his weapon, scanning the skis to ensure they were safe. Lyra ran to him, wrapping her arms around his waist. You saved us," she said, voice trembling. He smiled faintly, brushing her hair back gently. "We saved each other," he said. "I just made sure you got home." The queen joined them, placing her hands on Lyra's shoulders. "You are remarkable human," she said, voice thick with emotion. "You have done what no one else could. You have returned my daughter to me, and you have saved our city." Shook his head humbly. "I only did what anyone would do. I couldn't let you lose her." Lyra's heart swelled with gratitude. The human who had guided her through darkness, who had risked everything for her, was not just a stranger. He was their hero, the reason hope survived, the reason their family had been reunited. For the first time, the queen and Lyra stood together, unbroken, as the city slowly settled from the attack. The twin suns rose higher, casting warm light across the courtyard. They looked at, realizing that humans, small and fragile though they might be, carried a courage and heart that could change the galaxy itself. Lyra whispered, voice soft but full of emotion, "We owe everything to him. He is more than a hero, he is family." Simply smiled, letting them share this moment. In the chaos of the universe, he had done something extraordinary, not for power, not for glory, but for love, hope, and the chance to reunite a mother and daughter. And in that he found a strength no alien technology could match. Dawn broke over, spilling golden light across the crystal towers and streets that had been by the night's battle. The twin suns reflected in the city's energy veins, painting the world in hues of warmth and promise. The air was still, carrying the faint hum of healing energy, and the citizens, cautiously emerging, looked upon their city with awe and relief. The Queen and Lyra stood on the balcony of the palace, the city stretching endlessly below them. Lyra's fingers intertwined with her mother, their connection stronger than ever. She looked around, seeing the city through eyes that had been hidden in darkness for so long. Everything seemed new, alive, and full of possibility. For decades, she had known only tunnels, shadows, and isolation. Now she saw a world waiting for her, a world her mother had protected and nurtured even in sorrow. "Mother," Lyra said softly, voice trembling with wonder, "I never thought I would see this again. I never thought I would be free." The Queen's amber eyes glimmered with tears. "Freedom was always within you, my child. You only needed someone to guide you back to it." She turned her gaze to who had quietly stepped aside, watching them with a small, humble smile. "And he brought you home." Lyra looked at gratitude spilling from her heart. "I owe you my life. I owe you everything." Shook his head, modest but proud. "No," he said. "You did this. I just made sure you had the chance. You trusted me and that trust brought you here. That is your courage, not mine." The Queen studied him with awe, realizing that humans, fragile as they appeared, carried a power beyond technology or sheer strength. His courage, his unwavering hope, and his willingness to risk himself for others had changed the course of lives and a city. "You are extraordinary," she said softly. "Your heart is stronger than any weapon. You are our hero." The sun rose higher, illuminating in brilliant light. The city was alive with the sounds of recovery, repairs on buildings, citizens helping one another, children laughing where fear had once reigned. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face for the first time in decades. She felt alive, whole, and connected to a family that had waited for her across time and distance. Glanced at them, a quiet satisfaction in his eyes. His mission had been far more than a rescue. It had been proof that humans could bridge impossible divides, heal wounds no one else could, and create hope where despair had lived for generations. He had risked everything, and yet, standing here, seeing a mother and daughter reunited, he knew it had been worth every danger, every moment of fear. Lyra leaned against her mother, her heart full. I'm home," she whispered, echoing the words she had longed to speak for years. "Mother, I'm home." The Queen pressed her forehead to Lyra, tears flowing freely. "Finally," she whispered, "finally my child is home, and our hearts are whole again." The city below seemed to sigh in relief, as if it, too, understood the power of reunion, hope, and courage. The people had witnessed bravery, selflessness, and the quiet determination of a single human that changed the fate of an entire world. It was a testament to the extraordinary potential of humanity, fragile yet fearless, small yet capable of greatness beyond imagining. As the first rays of sun fully bathed the palace, Lyra looked at, "Thank you for everything. You are more than a human hero. You are part of our story now, part of our family." Smiled, a warmth in his heart. "And I will always be here when you need me. Today, tomorrow, as long as there is hope, I will stand with you." The Queen nodded, placing her hand gently on his shoulder. "Today marks a new beginning. Our family, our city, and the bond between humans and will be stronger because of you." Lyra held her mother's hand, feeling love, safety, and hope intertwined. She had been lost for decades, yet now she saw a future full of light, adventure, and connection. and beside her a human stood, reminding her that courage, heart, and selflessness could change destinies. The twin suns rose higher, casting a golden glow over the city and the reunited family. The wind carried a sense of renewal, and for the first time in decades, the Queen, Lyra, and the people have felt the promise of a bright, unbroken tomorrow. Lyra whispered again, more firmly this time, "I'm home, Mother, and I will never leave your side again." The Queen held her tightly, tears mingling with laughter. "Welcome home, my daughter, welcome home." And with that, a new dawn began, one of hope, courage, and the extraordinary power of a human heart that changed the galaxy forever.